Welcome to Talkin' Jets. My name's Ryan and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside our panel. I got Green Bean, Matt O'Leary, and Joe Blewett from Jets X Factor. Guys, how you doing tonight? Matt, throw it to you first.
Doing pretty good. Excited to talk some Jets football. More about the rookies. That's really all that matters right now anyway. So excited to talk through this with you boys.
Green Bean, how you doing tonight?
I'm in the best mood ever, dude. I'm so happy to be here, and I love everybody.
Joe, how you doing tonight?
I'm surprised the Green Bean's in Miami and not somewhere in Seattle or something like that with that response, but I'm doing well.
All right, guys, if you have not subbed up these great content creators, all their links are in the description down below. And if you want to join the poll question of the day, get yourself a shot to win some Amazon gift cards. The pinned comment on the live chat, which rookie has been the most impressive? You could vote on that. Right now, we have Mekhi Becton leading the way with 72% of the votes. I want to see what that winds up being at the end of the show after we get a little bit of film breakdown and after we get some of this discussion going on. But guys, let's start with the Week 12 matchup against the Miami Dolphins. The Jets play the Dolphins twice this year. We have scored a total of 3 points, and it just so happens that works out to be the same amount of points that the Denver Broncos scored with no quarterback. No fucking quarterback. Are you kidding me? Oh, my God. So what do we think about this? How do we feel about Sam Darnold? How do we feel about Joe Flacco prior to Sam coming back? What do we think of the rookies? I want to get your thoughts. Green Bean, I'll throw it to you first. What were your initial thoughts of the Miami game?
Did you say Green Bean?
I did say Green Bean.
All right, cool, man. I was once again telling somebody I'm sober in the chat. Everybody think I get high, man. I don't know what that is.
It's a little vape pen. That's what it is.
Yeah, everybody's like, he's fucking smoking dope right now. I thought, let's just, number one, I'm happy we lost, okay? I honestly believed before the game that this was going to be the game that Sam Darnold felt was most important for his career. I thought he was going to come out, utilize his top 3 wide receiver core to the best of his ability, and I was concerned that we were about to witness an aerial assault, and what I watched was not that. So I was happy that we lost, but I have to admit, I watched Sam Darnold look like a confused, scared shell of what we thought he could be. And one thing in particular, I got into some debates this week about the need for a new offensive line and their trash and everything. And I don't argue that we should be continuing to upgrade the offensive line, but I didn't see them as the problem. In the fourth quarter, it might have been a different story, but he had nice pockets throughout the first half and then into the third quarter, and he was bailing early. And it hurt my heart to watch it for him. I didn't want to see 384 touchdowns, but I didn't want to see that either. It was a mixed bag, man, for me. But ultimately, I'm just happy we got 5 more. And if we do this, we get a golden ring. So that I'm happy about.
Matt, how are you feeling about this past loss to the Miami Dolphins?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough one to sit through, but at the end of the day, it's for what's for the best. I feel bad for Darnold. This is not the guy that we saw in his rookie year or last year. And I know earlier on in the year, I myself and a lot of other people were holding out some hope, but there's just there's no shot. He can't be the guy here. He's not good enough, unfortunately. And we'll see if he could turn it around somewhere else, but this team's on a fast track to pick, and most likely first overall. Even if they don't get the first overall pick, you have to take a quarterback. It's bad, but to me, that was the glaring thing from this game, is that Darnold's just bad. He's not good.
Joe, how are you feeling about this week's loss?
Yeah, I kind of agree with everything they're saying. I think there's a reason why a lot of fans, who are pro tank, were a little bit more nervous for Joe Flacco starting than Sam Darnold. There's a reason people were a little bit more nervous when Flacco was playing, but Darnold did impress. Obviously, he had to start impressing from earlier in the season. Even if he had 5 really really great games at this point, it's still not enough to get me off of the Lawrence train. So I don't really think there's much he could do now except for increase his trade value, which is great. But kind of get transitioning off of that, because we all know what Darnold is at this point, at least with the Jets. He's done. I do feel bad for him because I think he's a good kid. I think the Jets did screw him to a certain extent, but there's a gray area. It's not all Jets. It's not all Gase. It's not all Darnold. It's a mixture of everything. But the last couple of weeks, in terms of like the young guys, it's been fun to watch. The young guys, not fun to watch in general because the Jets suck. But the last couple of weeks of Hall and Mims and Becton and Q and Fadokasi, like these guys are going to be here for years to come. It's kind of the silver lining of a really dark cloud of this season. So at least the young guys are playing well, because I cannot imagine how we'd even be doing a show if Quinnen Williams was sucking, if Becton wasn't good, if Mims was still hurt. Like, what would we talk about? So at least we do have some bright spots, which I really enjoy watching. So
Yeah, look, I was just as disappointed as you guys were with Darnold, or maybe I shouldn't say disappointed. Maybe I should say pleased. I'm glad he's back in, because with me, when I'm looking at Sam, I think the biggest issue, aside from him just missing wide open guys, like not even pulling the trigger on throws, but like it seems like his deep ball accuracy is just not what Joe Flacco's is, and that's what really softened up the defenses that Flacco was going against. Like watching Perriman and Mims kind of scream up the field allowed a little bit more to open up underneath. And I kind of figured getting Sam back would help us in the loss column. I mean, we put up, what was it, our 2 highest point totals with Joe Flacco under center. I mean, Sam Darnold still only has 3 passing touchdowns on the season. That's absolutely atrocious. You guys mentioned the young guys playing well. I know Joe's not huge on the Pro Football Focus side of things, but I just pulled up some of our Pro Football Focus grades. Our top offensive guys right now in terms of overall grade for the season, we got Mekhi Becton and Denzel Mims 1-2. Oddly enough, Jamison Crowder and Brashad Perriman are right below him as well. So all 3 receivers, when they're healthy, are actually, at least according to Pro Football Focus, playing well. The top guys on the defensive side of the ball, Fatukasi leading the way, Marcus May, they have ranked as the 4th safety out of 91 safeties. Fatukasi is 10th out of 127 down linemen. Quinnen Williams is coming in at 16th. That's the 3rd. And then we have Matthias Farley and Brian Poole. And then Franklin Myers is they're all above like a 75 on Pro Football Focus. So it's definitely a nice thing to see, considering we are in a season that really has been pretty disappointing. What did you guys think about, I don't know if all you guys watched the post-game press conference with Adam Gase and just the very odd responses that he had to calling plays. It just seemed like he was caught in a lie by Rich Cimini, and he didn't know how to respond to it. Green Bean, what were your thoughts on the press conference debacle?
Well, I mean, maybe we may be talking about different parts of it, but one thing I'm actually happy about is that the press has finally grabbed onto the idea of, like, I'm not just letting them say something and moving on. Like I noticed that a lot throughout the last year and a half, whatever it is. But like he would say something idiotic and he'd go, well, no, that doesn't make sense with what you're saying before. And they really caught him he was tying knots that he couldn't get out of with that Dowell Loggins, who's calling the plays and shit. And Gase looks like one of 2 things, and maybe even both. He's either a massive idiot, or he's completely full of shit. Okay, so he's a liar. He's a stone-faced liar. He doesn't care who knows he's lying, like that kind of thing. He just wants to say what he wants to say. Or he's just the biggest fool that we have going. I love that Cimini said, Gase said one thing, oh, no, that was me, or Dowell calling the plays. And he said, well, that's really interesting because he was talking to Pollock at that moment when you're saying it was him. So is he a magician? And it was beautiful. So I think Gase is either so confident that he's not getting fired, right or wrong. Maybe they're allowing him to believe that. I don't know. Or he's just the biggest, he's just the worst person. ever. Like outside of like the evil, in the sports world, he's just the worst. And I actually took great joy in watching the reporters. I think this past week it was Cimini and maybe Connor Hughes. I think it was. They were really just not letting him off the hook. I thought that was fantastic, man, because I hate this guy.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely brutal. Matt, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I like Green Bean said, the press giving it to him a little bit was awesome. Love that. But he talked himself into circles. He's like, come on, guys, it's not that hard. To then say, oh, wait, no, I actually am calling plays on third down. And then, like, are we not noticing that Dowell's not holding a play sheet? It's like, how that?
Yeah.
There's just so much doesn't add up here, man. Just, like, be honest about it. What's the difference? Like, who are you fooling if you're saying, oh, I'm not calling the plays? Like, is there really that much of a vast difference between what we saw from Gase versus what we're going to get from Dowell anyway? I mean, they've been together for years at this point. It's in the same system, but I don't know. It's not surprising. Hopefully we get a few more laughers along the way, because like if we're going to suck and go 0-16, like we at least be entertaining. So I'll take a couple more press conferences like that, because that was a lot of fun.
Joe, what were your thoughts on the press conference?
The press conference where he says it's only only the 2-minute drive, the first 3 plays, the in the green zone, but at the first 20 yards, the first 3 minutes after 2 timeouts, and in the red zone in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left, but he's not calling those plays, but then he is. It's like, what are you talking? Like, he was so lost. Right. So he was just making stuff up. Like, again, with what I do, like, you watch Liars, and he's a straight up liar. Like, there's right. No way you're not going to call the first. He's like, oh, well, the first 3 plays of every drive. Okay, well, if it goes after 3, we're just trying to work in some 2-minute stuff. It's like, what? Like, what are you talking about? So he's an asshole. He's getting fired. He's the best thing for the Tanks. So while I do want to see him, pack his bags out of Florham Park, I'm kind of like, listen, I don't want to go 0-16. I do, but I don't. Because they're going to be on the record book for that 0-16 record, but I kind of want the Johnsons to be embarrassed. I want Gase's name to be attached to that, so he never gets a job in the NFL again, unless it's with a division rival, or maybe the Vikings. Guys don't like the Vikings for some reason, or maybe the Browns. But yeah, he's a joke. He's a joke. The Johnsons are a joke. So I'm really excited for this to all end in 5 weeks. Hopefully they make the right coaching hire, because that is absolutely the biggest coaching hire of all of our lives. Even yours, Green Bean.
Well, I don't know.
Because listen, first overall pick, $95 million in a free agency that you're going to. It's probably the most impactful free agency the Jets could have, because there's a lot of teams who are way over the cap who cannot sign guys. So the Jets and some other teams are going to be the only options for some of these guys. So massive free agency, a shit ton of picks. With a new coach, with potentially the number 1 quarterback to come out since Andrew Luck, like, this coaching hire has to be right. So I'm basking in the Adam Gase, idiocy right now. And let's go 0-16. Screw it. Who cares?
Yeah, the 0-16 is really the best part. If we go 0-16, does Adam Gase cement the spot as the worst head coach, or the best? Maybe not the best head coach, but like not the worst, because we got the first pick. Like, how do we kind of work that? I love that you brought up the. Just the ineptitude of the Johnsons and everything, because having a little bit of egg on the Johnsons' face kind of makes me feel good. And what kills me is that when we hired Gase, that was the biggest coaching hire of our lives. We had the young rookie quarterback coming off a promising 2018 campaign. Everyone lined up to be the head coach there. We had our pick. We could have had anyone we wanted, and we chose Adam Gase. So it's just been so friggin' frustrating. So now this offseason, along with those teams not being able to sign players, they're not going to be able to retain some of their own players, or they're going to have to cut players on big-time contracts. There's going to be a lot of good players hitting the market, because there's so many teams so far over the cap. I want to say the Saints are like $90 million over the cap. So guys like Marcus Lattimore or Ramchick, the right tackle there, those guys are coming up on their 5th-year options. If the Jets are looking to possibly make a move to help out their offensive line, or maybe help out the secondary, the teams that are way over the cap, like the Eagles, teams like this, that's where I'd be looking to try and alleviate some of their cap woes, and then add in a player that could help us. Because I think the Jets are at a point where I don't want to say they have too much money, but it's unrealistic to think that the Jets could sign like every good free agent. Like we could come on here and say, hey, we want Allen Robinson, we want Bud Dupree, we want Joe Tooney, we want, insert every other name you want to say there. And the numbers may work depending on what they signed for based on what the Jets have in cap space, but that doesn't mean everyone wants to play in New York or New Jersey or whatever. There's guys that want to play in a rural town. There's guys that want to play in warm weather. There's guys that want to play in a dome. There's all these different situations that still pop up throughout the course of a free agent's decision. And I just want no part of Adam Gase. I want him to be here. My biggest hope is that we go into these next 5 weeks and the Jaguars win a game. Because I would love to root for the Jets against the Seattle Seahawks or against the Patriots the last week of the season. I don't care. I would love to just root for a win. And if we go on 16, fine, whatever. I don't care. As soon as we lock up that number 1 pick, I kind of want Gase out the door. We don't have to wait till Black Monday. Just absolutely cut him loose and just let it go. I don't know. It was just interesting. And then I don't know what other stuff about the Miami game am I kind of missing on here. The Mims looked good again. Perriman looked good again. The offensive weapons seem to be there. It looks like our top 3 are legit. It's just that the glaring difference between Sam Darnold and Joe Flacco, it felt so much more apparent after watching Flacco play for those 2 weeks prior to that. Green Bean, your thoughts?
Well, what's interesting about these skill players is, up until Perriman and Mims, kind of came back in, we were looking at Berrios and Crowder and Malloy and those types of guys. And what I was watching last week was these passes that were really errant passes, but great catches were being made in that game. Both by Mims and Perriman, whether they were acrobatic or just fingertips, like full extension fingertip catches. So 2 things. One, it was showing me that these guys have really a high level of ability, and they're able to make a quarterback look good. But it also showed me that Sam Darnold, if that wasn't Mims and Perriman, these long-bodied, fast, athletic receivers, they would have most likely been misses. You know what I mean? So even on the catches, I was nervously, but disappointed. I was like, holy shit, man, that was a great catch, but that was almost not a catch, So I think that, again, that reinforced my feelings for Sam, that he's just having a hard time. I think he needs a year on as somebody's backup and just kind of sit there and decompress and all that sort of stuff. But these guys, man, Mims, I got really nervous with that really good catch and injury. And I thought he looked slow. I was talking about it in the live stream and we were all noticing it when on that, I guess it was 30 yards crossing route. He looked slow. I thought he would be able to turn the corner on the cornerback. It looked like he had the space to do it if he turned on the burners, but for whatever reason, he couldn't. He almost looked like he was jogging. And I worry about him with these hamstrings. I don't know what it is. I don't want to get all freaked out. Remember a year and a half ago, we were all freaking out about Marcus May not being able to make it through a season, and that's no longer even on anybody's radar. So that's what I hope, but I am concerned. But it was exciting to watch guys like Mims, and I even like Perriman, man. He's another one. You can't depend on him for, to be your number 1 every down, every game guy, but that's a talented receiver right there, man. He has some positives. So I really enjoyed watching those guys and seeing their upward trajectory. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, what were your thoughts on the weapons?
Yeah, like Green Bean was saying, there really are a lot of positive things to be excited about with Denzel Mims, and that's the big one that stuck out to me because, again, the guy is just showing off his catch radius on a week-to-week basis. He's going out there making these plays that we really haven't seen from a Jets receiver in a long time. And I know he doesn't have a touchdown yet. I know he doesn't have a 100-yard game yet, but the talent and raw skill that he's been putting on display for what was it, 5 games now? It's really good and it's really promising. I think, there was a reason why we were all going nuts on draft day on day 2 when the Jets called his name, because, we did see this kind of potential there. A lot of people thought he can go in the first round. And I think we're seeing why that is right now. And so he's been great. As far as Perryman goes, with what Green Bean was saying, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him back as like a fourth wide receiver. Maybe it depends really on what he's looking to get paid and stuff like that. If you can get him back cheap, okay. But you could address that probably in the draft too. But we'll see here. I don't think the weapons is that big of a glaring issue long term as what some people are making it out to be either.
Joe, what were your thoughts on the Jets' weapons and how are they looking?
Yeah, overall, Perryman in the games with Flacco, he could have had easily, and again, it's all on film, he could have had 5 or 6 touchdowns in those 2 weeks that Flacco was throwing him the ball. The one he obviously dropped, he didn't look the ball, and he was trying to look at the back line of the end zone, so he didn't, look the ball, and he dropped it. Okay, that's understandable. Caught another touchdown that game, and then I think it was the game against the Chargers. He was up the right sideline shrieking, and he had to come back to the ball because Flacco couldn't step into the throw, and it was underthrown. He drew a PI, and I think they got down to like the 10-yard line. But if the ball was placed where it should have been, it was another touchdown. So he had what, 2 or 3 in those 2 weeks. He could have easily had 5, easily, and that's counting the drop, because he could have had 6 if he caught that ball as well. So Perryman was a guy I was always higher on watching his film. I didn't really like the whole 5-game narrative thing because he was the 4th read in that offense consistently with Godwin, Evans, and O.J. Howard. So there was times where he, like I always bring up, burned Darius Slay and could have had a 95 or maybe not 95, 85-yard touchdown on, but he wasn't targeted. The quarterback never looked his way. So I always liked Perriman. So to bring him back on a contract, I think it's incentive-laced. How many games do you play type contract? Because, 4th string, that's a really high-end 4th string. Like if he's healthy, that's a high-end 4th string, and to be completely honest. So the Jets in their offensive weapon department, I don't think they're as far as some people think they are. If you bring back Perriman, Crowder's here for whatever it is, $11-12 million next year. He's an upper tier slot. Is he the best in the league? No, probably not. But is he top 10? I think you can make that argument. Perriman is again, clearly a good deep threat, a guy with good body control, good size, really, really good speed. And then Mims, for his first couple of games, has been really consistent. And I'm not one to hype players up. I think I'll come here or wherever and kind of trash some Jets players, and people come after me sometimes. But Mims is a guy, talking with Marcus Coleman. He played in the NFL for 11 years. I showed him some film on a live stream I did with him like 2 weeks ago. And again, people, this is probably a little bit of an overreaction for him, but he sees some Julio Jones in Denzel Mims. My comparison in that draft for Mims was AJ Green, and he could be a legit number 1 top 10 receiver. Does he have a long way to go to get there? For sure. But does he have that capability? It's undoubtedly. This week he almost had 2 plays deep down the field on 2 of the best corners in the league with Xavier Howard and Jones. So he was a couple of things he can clean up to make those catches. But regardless, I really, really like the weapons. I want them to supplement that group. Another tight end, another receiver, obviously some running backs and things like that. But those 3 guys, I'm pretty high on them, and I'm higher on Perriman than most people are as a number 3. But if he's healthy, I'm pretty high in his game. Again, the first week everybody said, "Oh, he didn't show up because he had like 40 yards." But there was a crossing route that Darnold missed him on that would have took his stat line from 3 catches to 40 yards for 40 yards to 4 or 5 catches for 75 yards, 80 yards. So that 1 catch, because it wasn't in the stat sheet, didn't count because Darnold overthrew him. So people are just glued onto the stats, but there's a lot more that matters in the stats, and I think he shows it on film.
Yeah, look, the whole weapon, like all the wide receivers, I'm really excited about. I think we have a really solid group of 3 receivers. Again, I don't want to rely on Perriman to be like the guy, like Green Bean was saying. I think if he can be that number 4, even if we have to pay him something like we paid him this year, I want to say it was between $6 and $8 million. I think that's somewhere where you could kind of get him. It's not like he blew up this year like he did at the end of last year. So maybe he comes back on that kind of deal. I still want to add a receiver. Allen Robinson's definitely high up on my free agent wish list. I don't know if I see Joe Douglas going the really expensive route. I think he may wind up looking at some of the other options. There's going to be a ton of wide receivers. You got Robinson, Juju, Godwin, Galladay, Gallup. I think Sam Curtis is up there too. There's going to be a lot of potential weapons, not to mention a really deep wide receiver draft as well. So it'll be interesting to see how we kind of supplement our wide receiver core, because I do think we need one more wide receiver. I do want to see more out of the tight ends, but I don't know right now if it's the offensive system that's like the glaring difference in our tight ends, because coming into this year, it felt like Herndon, after missing last year, should have been better. He's been a big disappointment. Wesco's not involved, and neither is Griffin. It's you like haven't seen their names get called all year. I think we have one touchdown to a tight end this whole year, and I kind of want to see them in a new offensive system before I invest maybe a premium pick in one. Now, I know a lot of people are really high on, I think it's Kyle Pitts from Florida, really crazy good tight end. I don't think he's making it to the Seattle pick. I feel like he's probably going to go a little bit higher than that. But he might be the only guy that's first round that like you might be able to get me to pull the trigger on. At that later, I see you guys shaking your head. Joe, respond. Talk to me.
Listen, it depends on who else is there, but with all the premium positions the Jets need, if you're taking a tight end, we have some serious problems. They need outside linebackers, they need corners, they need offensive linemen. If Pitts is the greatest tight end to come out since whoever, the last 20 years, maybe, but there's no way I'm taking the tight end. You need so much more on this team than a tight end right now. That's kind of like the finishing piece to a team, not one who's trying to build from the ground up right now.
Yeah, we've talked about it on this panel a few times. We definitely think premium position with that second pick. We're thinking edge rusher, cornerback, wide receiver, or even like a guard would be an interesting option at that point. I would like to roll with the tight ends we have now. Maybe look in free agency. I think Hunter Henry is a free agent. I'm pretty sure. Zach Ertz? I don't know if he's a free agent, but I think he could be traded. Philadelphia's got a lot of issues with the cap, so he could potentially be an option that we could bring in. I don't know. I'm excited about the wide receiver room for sure. Running back, I think we're going to need to address, at some point after the first round. I don't want to spend a first round pick on a running back. Second, third, fourth round would be the sweet spot for me. I think second or third, because there's a good shot we have. Well, I guess at this point it's not a good shot that we get a second round pick for Darnold, but we're going to have multiple picks in day two that I think we could address at that point. Let's move on to another topic from the Dolphins, or instead of the Dolphins game. Now let's start talking a little bit about our head coaching search. We talked a little bit about Pat Fitzgerald. I believe, was it last week or 2 weeks ago when we heard that rumor? And then I think it was last week. Mm-hmm. And then, what are our thoughts right now based on the different, way teams have been playing, games have been called? I know a lot of people who were high on Greg Roman are not as high anymore. Some people who may have wanted Harbaugh maybe don't want him. I don't know. Green Bean, what are your thoughts on the head coaching search, and what would you like to see?
Well, I think Joe Douglas is smarter than the average fan, thankfully. I think that he's a forward thinker, and I think going backwards to a time, a yesteryear, to recapture whatever Harbaugh has done in this league, I think it's not even on the radar. I would think that the Johnsons might like the idea, the big name and everything, but can I tell you what I think this is? And it'll break off just a smidge, but this is what I think we're about to see, why this is such an exciting time. Right now, as we all know, we have this stupid hierarchy, this reporting structure where the head coach and the GM are equal and they report to an idiot, right, who doesn't know anything about football. So what's about to happen is that, remember, Woody Johnson was all A-OK with passing off the responsibility. He hired Corn Ferry or whatever that was. He hired, Ron Wolf and Casserly. He's fine with admitting he doesn't know football. He's ready to bring people in. So right now we have Joe Douglas and this reporting structure. When Adam Gase is gone, what the Johnsons are going to do, this is my prediction. What the Johnsons are going to do is they're going to give Joe Douglas the team. His first task is going to be to make the decision on the coach, and he's the one that's going to fire Gase, and he's the one that's going to hire the new coach, and it's going to be Joe Douglas's team. That's what we're about to watch, and it's going to be a great day in Jets history. Then with his coaching search, we're going to see guys like we just heard about the guy from Northwestern. We're going to see guys like Matt Campbell. Am I gone? Am I here? My fucking
Yeah, you're here.
internet just went off.
You're good. I
Good?
got you. You're golden, pony
Okay.
boy.
Wow, I just got it. Dude, I have the best internet, and all of a sudden it said my connection is something. Sorry. So I think that the guys like Matt Campbell are going to look at the Jets in a completely different way. They're not looking at Mike McCagnon and a slapdick organization anymore. Joe Douglas is very well respected, as is Phil Savage and Chad Alexander and Rex Hogan. These guys are legit, man. These guys are respected NFL guys. So I think that we're going to be able to get coaches like a Matt Campbell that we weren't able to get previously. Even like you said, I agree with what you said before, Ryan, that we had people lined up. We could have anybody we wanted for the most part. But Mike McCagnon was still here and all that. So I think we're going to see some really quality coaching candidates because Joe Douglas is going to be in charge, and we're all going to be happier walking into the sunset together.
Matt, what are your thoughts on the with our pants down? Oh, that sounds fantastic, Green Bay.
me.
That's exactly where I want to be. I want to be with the three of you guys with our pants down, walking into the sunset. No, sorry, that's gonna be another clip. I sent Green Bean and Matt a clip that Joe sent me today. Someone
play
clipped
it.
You can play it if you want. I don't know if they'll hear it.
No, you should be able to hear it if I. Hold on.
For some context on that, I was asked last night.
good.
Fuck one, marry one, kill one. Bill O'Brien, Matt Patricia, Dan Quinn, and I was going through, and my final one was, that.
That wasn't the context. You just said it out of nowhere. It was...
Oh no, it was pure. That's purely passion, and I woke up. I was like, oh, that's just what I want. Oh god damn, I'm ruining myself right now. Matt, your head coaching search.
I don't know if I could do an offseason of talking about what if the Jets hire Jim Harbaugh or Doug Peterson. That might be the thing to get me off the internet for good. I don't think I could stomach it. As you guys or more along the lines of what Green Bean was saying, I really hope that they let Joe Douglas run the show. And if they go the college route, like a Matt Campbell or Fitzgerald or PJ Fleck, that would really be exciting to me. And Ryan, I know you talked about it on one of your videos recently. Joe Brady really excites me a lot too. What he's done in Carolina with that offense and what he did at LSU, and he's been around good teams. He was with the Saints before that as an assistant. Like, this guy really seems to me like he's on the trajectory to be the next McVay, and McVay was hired at 31 years old. I believe Brady's going to be 32 next year, so around that same age group. I just want to go young, get exciting, score some points. Like, let's have some fun here. And I would really like to go down that route if they don't go the college route. I like I said though, I really can't do an offseason of Harbaugh and Peterson talk. I can't stomach it.
Joe, what are your thoughts on the head coaching search?
Yeah, there's no way. I agree with both of them. I would be pretty confident in the organization going forward if they actually gave Joe Douglas full autonomy of the coaching search. I could see the Johnsons power playing and kind of be like, okay, well, we want Harbaugh because I know they were chasing him a couple of years ago. So if that did happen, I would lose a lot of faith because then you're going to have an internal power struggle on who's getting the players and all this stuff, which I really cannot deal with, like you guys were saying. So I can't stomach that either. So I hope that Joe Douglas does get the, like I said, the autonomy to make the full decision. But the way I'm kind of leaning is more like the names like the Bradys and the Bieniemys, like they intrigue me. But I really want, and again, I want to study all these guys' offenses too. Like I really want to do a deep dive, but obviously all the Jet stuff, I can't do that at the same time. This is not my full-time job. I do have a full-time job, but I want a leader of men first and foremost. Like I think a lot of people get tripped up in, oh, well, this guy's offense is great and this offense was great and that defense was great. And the Jets have kind of done that recently. And I know it hasn't been with offensive guys, minus Gase. It doesn't count. He's bad hire, bad everything. But Rex Ryan was the hot new defensive coordinator who was leading the Ravens to all their good defenses. Todd Bowles, look at him, great with the Cardinals. Came to the Jets, was a shitty head coach, went back to the Buccaneers and is having a great defense again. So I think there's a difference between coordinator and head coach. So you could be a great coordinator, the Bradys, the Bieniemys, the whoever you want to say, but can they lead the entire team? It's a completely different thing than leading an offense or leading a defense. So those names intrigue me, but the Matt Campbells out there, the Todd Munkins, the rules of a couple of years ago are the guys I really want. I want program builders. I would lean more towards offense for obvious reasons, because it does get a little bit concerning if you get a defensive guy, you bring in a hot new coordinator, he has success with Lawrence, and then that guy gets poached in 2-3 years. So that's definitely a concern for me in terms of not having your offensive coach. But I definitely want a leader of men first and foremost, because I think, it's easy to get tripped up in, oh, this offense is good, but can he lead a whole team? It's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, you guys all hit the nail right on the head. For me, I think it's going to be very telling. I hope they let Joe Douglas make this decision, because if we hire Harbaugh, I feel like that's more of a Johnson decision. They wanted him back before they got or I guess in the same coaching search as when they were getting Rex Ryan. I believe he was still at Stanford at the time, if I have my years right.
Yeah.
And then if that happens, I think if we get Harbaugh, I think Greg Roman becomes his offensive coordinator. It seems like his time in Baltimore might be coming to an end this year. That's not the route I particularly want to go. I think at one point I did really like Greg Roman, and I think that's kind of worn off on me now. Joe Brady is definitely an exciting name to look at. I think the fact that he hasn't been a head coach can definitely be concerning. I think you have to do a little bit more research into his type of personality and do they think he can lead men. I do like the college route a lot. As far as which of those guys, I don't know. I don't have enough knowledge on them just yet. I have to go and actually look at what they've done. It'll be interesting to see. I just want someone that we can get excited about. I don't want one guy to be overly hyper focused on one side of the ball. Like the way Rex was when he was here, I felt like we sided on the defensive side with any drafts and trades and things of that nature, and it's just not something that I want to be stuck with again. I almost like I like Joe Judge and I like John Harbaugh. They were both special teams coordinators, guys that dealt with the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. They had different players on special teams. I feel like they have a better handle on everything. So I guess I'm sort of echoing what Joe said. I want a guy that can lead men, and that's really what we're looking for here. I want to jump into a few comment questions because we had a few super chats throughout that we haven't been able to touch on. V-Man says Jets ruining Sam Darnold is the worst thing since LSD. Whoops, I can't see the whole question. LSD and schizophrenia ruined Pink Floyd founder Sid Barrett. Shine on, you crazy diamond.
I like this guy.
Yeah, look, the Jets ruining Sam Darnold is absolutely crushing, and it winds up ruining what a lot of people think of the Jets. Now, this entire regime is going to be completely different from the regime that screwed up Sam Darnold. Like, you're getting your other owner back. You're getting Woody back. You have Douglas instead of McCagnon. You don't have Gase here. You have a new fresh guy. Honestly, it wouldn't shock me if we get the first pick and we're talking to Trevor Lawrence's agent, because I think while I don't think he's going to pull an Eli Manning, I think some input or at least laying out a plan on how they're going to protect Trevor Lawrence and how they're going to build this team around Trevor Lawrence, I think is important. And Joe's having some technical difficulties. He'll be back here in just a moment. I think that's part of the issue. Now all our names are screwed up. Green Bean, what do you think about the Jets ruining Sam Darnold?
Yeah, well, look, it's really quite simple with Sam Darnold. You had the youngest quarterback in NFL history to start a game, the youngest quarterback ever. He came into the league with boatloads of potential, but a whole bunch of concerns. He was the exact type of quarterback that needed to be, and we use this word a lot, but this is where it should have applied, developed. He needed to be developed. So what did we do? His first offensive coordinator was literally just pulled out of retirement. He wasn't even in football. We pulled him out, and this is Jeremy Bates. That's what he gets the first year. The second year, he gets a guy who decides, yes, I'm the right guy to develop your quarterback, but I will not hire an offensive coordinator, and I will not hire a quarterback coach because I want to be so hands-on. I'm a mad scientist. And then he doesn't talk to Sam Darnold during games. So Sam Darnold was the exact type of player that needed to be developed, and we gave him the least availability of coaching for development in the NFL. Okay, like then you look at Bruce Arians down in Tampa. He has two quarterback coaches. He has one for his B team. He has the second string has their own coaching. Why? So people can concentrate on them. So when it's their turn to come in, they're not shell shocked and what's going on. So they can come in and they're more prepared. We don't even have somebody preparing our friggin' starter. So yeah, it really does suck. Now I think a lot of this, like Joe was talking about earlier, I don't remove blame from Sam Darnold. I think that he's a part of the issue, but he was 20 years old. How can he be expected to lift the organization by himself when he's in large part being ignored? So I think we screwed him royally. I'd love to see him go to the San Francisco 49ers or the Pittsburgh Steelers and sit for a year and just have somebody who's actually has a history of working with people work with him. No stress that you have to start. Just sit there, work on technique, learn the offense, and just cool him off. And I think that he will have a shot. Dude, he's 23, and we're talking about his career being over. Tom Brady's 56 years old. You know what I mean? So it's like these guys can play a long time,
Sure, absolutely.
So, yeah, it's a bummer.
Matt, what do you think about the Jets ruining Sam?
It sucks, but that's where we're at. And I mean, Green Bean laid it out so nhưng there for us. They pulled Bates out he was like in the mountains on like Mount Kilimanjaro or something. The guy was just hiking in his retirement. But they really did him no favors with both the coaching decisions, and on top of that, the draft classes for Mike McCagnon is just atrocious. The ones before Darnold got there to the foundation that he was supposed to come into was not good. But then in the years after, when he was there in 2018 and 2019, not the best either. So realistically, it comes from all areas. It comes from the coaching. It comes from the player a little bit. It also comes from the general manager and the roster that he built for him. And now with Douglas coming in, and unfortunately the roster is trending in the right direction. You do have a really nice draft class in 2020. And yeah, they're going to have some more work in this upcoming draft and the one after that with the Adams picks. But Darnold wasn't able to put it together enough to be around for it. But my hope is that they're going to make the right decision with the coach. And Trevor Lawrence on his rookie deal is going to have this roster, which that's exciting to me. So that's, I think, our silver lining here.
Joe, what are your thoughts on the Jets ruining Sam Darnold?
Yeah, it happened. They definitely did put him in the best position. Just like Matt said, it's literally it's McCagnon. It was Izek. It was the 2010 draft and on that completely screwed Sam Darnold because they had no foundational pieces. And then they fired. What was the coordinator before Bates? I forget it. I'm blanking on his name right now.
Chad Morton. Or no, it wasn't Chad Morton. It was John Morton. John Morton.
You're right, John Morton.
I really liked what he had.
Morton was putting up like 30+ point games with nobody on his team and with Josh McCown quarterbacking. So I actually liked him, but apparently there was like internal struggles. I'm not really all about that type of stuff, but apparently that's why he was gone. So I actually liked him, but then you bring in Bates, and then you have Darnold, who's a young kid, learns that offense, and then they get fired. Now it's Adam Gase. So you have in your second year going into a new system with no talent around you. So yeah, they didn't surround him with a good offensive line. His first 2 years, the offensive line was absolutely terrible. This year it's not good, but it's definitely upgraded, but it's still not great. So yeah, they didn't put talent around him. They didn't put proper coaching around him. They didn't put a leader around him. They didn't have many leaders in the locker room on offense or defense. So yeah, they completely screwed him. Now again, am I completely absolving Sam Darnold of blame? No, I'm not, because Darnold hasn't been good, and he could have overcome some of the things that have been around him, because this roster isn't 3 points against Miami bad. It's not, 2 or 3 touchdowns he has this year bad. Like, it's just not. Like, Flacco played a lot better than he did in those couple of games he played. or the last couple of games he played, because the last time he played Miami was awful too, but better than Darnold did at any point this season. So when we have more faith in Joe Flacco, who's 35 and was a backup to Drew Lock last year over Darnold, it's part Darnold's issue too. But yeah, they didn't do the best to progress him. If Josh Allen was here, if any of these, Kyler Murray was here, and started how Sam Darnold did, those guys might be screwed too. If Josh Allen was with the Jets right now, he'd be, I think, a bigger bust than Sam Darnold if they started the same spot, because I think Darnold in Buffalo would be a top 15, top 10 quarterback right now if he got to develop with them. I really do. He's kind of past. He's not past the point of no return, but he's past the point with the Jets. That's obvious. So I think he could bounce back. Do I ever think he's going to be elite? No. But I do think he could be a mid-level quarterback. But yeah, they definitely screwed him.
Yeah, for me, I can't absolve Sam of everything, but the Jets did not put him in a position to succeed. We signed a horrible head coach. We did not have the draft classes we needed in the years prior. And unfortunately, with everything going on with the contract, and then you have the shortened preseason or no preseason, shortened training camp, you have them get mono last year. So it winds up being it's more than just the coaching. It's more than just Sam. It's all these different culmination of effects and issues that have come up over the course of the last few years. So did the Jets ruin Sam? I believe so. And I hope he has a good career elsewhere. I hope he goes to the Saints or the 49ers, the Steelers, the Colts, some team
AFC
like
teams.
that.
No
AFC teams. Yeah, no, go to the Saints.
No.
I like the Saints.
Saints.
Go over there. All right, I want to throw some other comments up on the screen, but I can't scroll all the way back up to them, so I apologize for that. Eddie DeJesus says, sometimes you got to lose to win. Winning now will not benefit the Jets. How many times have we seen over the last few years, mainly the last, I guess, decade or so, 2 decades, where the Jets have just won meaningless games at the end of seasons to just ruin their draft stock? I remember winning against the Titans back in, 2015, 16, 14?
Like 13?
14.
Was it 13? With Mariota and Winston coming out and beating the Titans and losing out on the Mariota contest. And not even just Mariota, but if you were to roll with whatever quarterback, you now don't have Sheriff at your disposal. You now don't have Amari Cooper at your disposal. We wind up taking Leonard Williams, who we wind up ultimately flipping for a 3rd and a 5th. So yeah, Jets losing is how we're gonna win moving forward. Whether you want to keep the Trevor Lawrence pick or if you are an adamant, we need pieces kind of guy, and you want to trade that first pick and just get a ton of other picks. I agree with you, Eddie. I think you gotta lose to win. Do you guys have any comments on that, or should I go to the next?
That's been obvious since like week 2, in my opinion. Watching the first 2 weeks, like, okay, the Jets should lose. Like I'm not so sinister of a fan, but it's been obvious for a while the Jets needed to lose. I think Green Bean commented on like one of my videos where I said, like, as soon as the Jets, their first kickoff of the season, it was like a legal block in the back. They got back to like the 10-yard. I'm like, oh, season's over. You can just tell, like, you can feel it at this point as a Jets fan. So. Yeah, they obviously the Jets winning games means nothing. You guys like saying like, yeah, you want to beat Seattle. Ideally, you do. But if Jacksonville wins another game and then we beat Seattle, then we're worrying about every single game again. So win week 17. That's fine with me. Not any week before that. I can't. The stress is killing me. It really is.
Lloyd,
I've never seen so many Jets fans as a collective give up on the season this early as this year. Mm-hmm. It was done. Like week 2, we're like, that's it.
Yeah.
There's no shot. The last drips of it were like in the Denver game. You know what I mean? It was like, again. It was like, but nobody, there's very few, if any, remaining people like, no, I think, Gase, Darnold, it's like there's nobody left. It's crazy what happened this year.
Yeah, 100%. Lloyd says, what's the player comparison, ceiling and floor for Mims and Becton? I like Joe's comparison for Mims as AJ Green. I think that kind of, I don't want to call him lanky, but he's kind of got like a lanky body.
Long.
He's fast. He knows how to control his body. He goes up and he fights for the ball. It's impressive how he uses his hands. It's like everything we wanted Stephen Hill to be back in the day. He had all like the metrics, but he just had none of the skills. For Becton, I don't know who I would compare him to. It would just be whoever is a monster. I don't know. I think Becton's going to wind up being the best tackle in the league at some point. I don't know if it's going to be next year or the year after, but the guy just has an enormous ceiling as long as he can stay healthy. Joe, I'll throw it to you first, I guess. What would you say the ceiling or floor could be for Mims and Becton?
Yeah, I hate player comparisons because I don't think any player is the same. Like, especially like from a technical side, like I hate them because I think just throwing out a name, oh, this guy's 360, yeah, this guy's 360. Okay, they're both close to 6'7", they're powerful. Okay, it's the same player. It's not. Your weaknesses can be their strengths can be your weaknesses. So I'm not even gonna do that for the most part. But yeah, I think like an AJ Green mold for Mims, I think that kind of fits because I was forced to do that comparison, but I think it does fit the body control, the ability with the route running. Again, I think I'm going to pull up some film in a little bit in terms of some route running things, which he has to get down a little bit more. But he showed the ability at Baylor. He showed especially the ability at the Senior Bowl. I broke down that film with Marcus Coleman, and super impressive. I think he's got to be a little more patient right now and set up his route stems a little bit better, but. I think he could be a top 10 receiver in the league. I legitimately do. Am I going to guarantee that? No, but he has easily the ability. And Becton, because he's a freak, there's no reason he couldn't be a top 3 tackle or the best tackle in the league. Again, that's his ceiling. So don't be, oh my God, Joe thinks that's going to happen. I'm not going to bank my house on it, but I think it could happen because he's an absolute freak and he's playing a lot better than any of us thought he would right now. He completely shut down Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram, one of the best duos in the league. And then last week gave up only one pressure or whatever it was. So he's playing at a really, really high level, really early into his career when he was considered a raw prospect coming into the NFL draft. So where he is already for a raw prospect, he can get so much better too. Like there's some reviews out there, some really popular people on Twitter. Their last name rhymes with Raldi, or the first name rhymes with Raldi, who says that he has no faults, and he puts up videos that are honestly really, really stupid in my opinion, where there actually are faults in the plays he's showing. There's one play I can show this week where he's like, oh my God, he snaps the guy's head back because he hit him so hard. Literally in the video, you can see Becton hitting him under the chin, so it's illegal hands to the face. That's why his head snapped back, is because he had legal hands to the face. It wasn't power. It was an illegal play. It's like it. But regardless of that, like they have a lot of things they have to work on. But so early into their careers, how Mims is looking, how Becton's looking, and even how Hall is looking. Like I know Hall let up some catches, but Hall being where he is already, these contested catches, shadowing Devontae Parker, playing Keenan Allen, playing Mike Williams, and being right in their hip pocket, but allowing catches. I'm really, really high on these guys. I'm not going to give necessarily ceilings or floor, but I do think they could all be, especially with Becton and Mims, tops of their position. Hall, I don't think will ever be there because of his lack of athletic ability. I think he's a decent athlete, but you need to be a freak to be up there, in my opinion, for the most part. So I think Hall could be a really solid number 2, maybe a decent number 1, but still, if you're going to get a really solid number 2, that spot in the draft, that's fantastic. So I think a lot of these guys have really high ceilings, especially Ashton Davis too. If we're talking like a lot of the rookies, like Ashton Davis, he's a freak he's a freak too. Like he has a really good skills in terms of his athletic ability. So I don't know what the question was. I kind of just went into a weird ramble. So I'm just going to throw it back to whoever. I don't know where I'm going with that, honestly. So
Matt, what would you say the player comparisons are for Mims and Becton?
Yeah, I went to Ashton Davis. Yeah, I'm sorry.
The player comparisons are always kind of tough for me, but the AJ Green one for Mims seems to make sense. Like I'll say it like this: I think that floor Mims is going to be floor an okay like number 2 receiver, whatever player you want to put on that. And then his ceiling though is like a legitimate number 1 who it has the red zone threat, has the ability to go up and get the ball and make those contested catches, which we've seen sparks of already. It's just a matter of health and doing it a little bit more consistently, I think, on his end. And with Becton, I think the floor is a good starting left tackle, but ceiling is legitimately like top 3 left tackles in the game, maybe top 1. Like this guy is a freak athlete at his size, is doing tremendous things. We're only a little over halfway through his rookie year. You could probably make a legitimate case of him being a top 10 tackle right now. So he could only get better from there. So it's it's really exciting with those two guys. I think Jets fans are rightfully excited about both of those players.
Green Bean, what do you think about the player comparisons for Mims and Becton?
Well, look, I would take AJ Green any day of the week if that's what Mims ends up being. And I really I watched that video with Marcus Coleman, and yeah, I mean, come on, Julio Jones. It's like, oh my God, because as we know, I mean, we talked ad nauseum about Mims and some others, Levis Chenault and Jefferson, and all those guys, ad nauseum last year, and we loved Denzel Mims. The fact that he slid to where he did. And then we traded, the whole thing that happened there. I feel very fortunate to have gotten him. Okay. I think he's going to be the best receiver that we've brought in, not like, signing Braylon Edwards or Santonio Holmes or Brandon Marshall or Eric Decker, whatever it is. I think he's going to be the best that we've brought in probably since Keyshawn Johnson. And I think while they're different, but I really like him. I think AJ Green is fine. I'm good with that comparison. Like you were saying, Ryan, they had it like they're long. I always saw AJ Green as super like it was his arms to me. It was always just like he could just get it. It was very similar to like Al Toon. Al Toon could catch anything, and no matter where it was, he seemed to be able to get it, which was ultimately his demise. He would landing on the turf, would get concussions and all that stuff. But yeah, and Becton, I don't know, man. But I will say I'm really happy to find out who we pair with him. Fant is not the long-term answer. I like Fant, and his contract is not really prohibitive to being a backup. I think his cap hit next year is somewhere in the area of $4 to $5 million. It's not as cut and dry as $9 million a year or whatever it was, or something like that. Forgive me, I don't remember the exact details, but
I think it's a little higher than that.
So, but if we have backups like Fant and Van Roten and
9.4 for next year,
that's his cap hit.
Because so 7.2 this year, 9.4 next year, 10.6 the year after. But he's done with guaranteed money after this season. So in theory, we could cut him.
What it was, but all right.
He would have a dead cap at $2 million.
So, but I'm right. Okay. So maybe it was something else. I'm old. So it's
okay.
So I'm really what I'm looking forward to seeing who Douglas pairs with him. There's a couple really interesting tackles in this year's draft. I don't see us getting, Sewell or anything like that, Leatherwood, those guys. But I do see there's a really good second batch of tackles this year. There's that kid coming out. He's 400 pounds. Falele, he's 6'9", 400 pounds. Like when you think Becton is big, like last year we're like 6'7", 370. Holy shit. And then it's like, no, this guy's 6'9", he's 399 is what he is. So it's like maybe we get somebody like that and just create this bruiser, just mauls you. And then we get a guy like Najee Harris and just punch you in the face all day with our 6'4" wide receivers and just, you know what I mean? Like that excites me. That looks like what Joe Douglas wants to do. So I don't know about necessarily player comparison. I was a big Jonathan Ogden guy. I liked him a lot. And if we can get a guy that sticks around and does what Jonathan Ogden did, I'd be very, very happy.
What else we got in here? So MN says we need offensive linemen after the first pick. Becton is great, but the rest of those guys are puckin' pathetic. I would say this. I really like Daniel Falele, at least from like a metrics perspective. The guy's just enormous. He's been playing football for 3 years. He opted out this season due to COVID. So I get the feeling he's probably not coming out. I think he's going to want to finish his collegiate career. And if he plays well his senior year, then, could talk himself into a pretty high pick at those numbers. I would love to see Joe Thuney from the Patriots. If we're going to spend a lot of money, someone who's very versatile across that offensive line. He's played almost every position, I think, over there. I think pairing him right next to Becton and kind of, I don't want to say solving that left guard spot, but that would be really impressive to me.
Oh, you're solving that left guard spot with Thuney.
Oh, dude, it's incredible. Center-wise, I know a lot of people are talking about drafting a center this year. I kind of want to see what McGovern has in a different system. But if you see a center that you like on the board, I'm not against taking it and then moving, one or the other to guard on, So I don't know. What do you guys think about offensive linemen? Let's try to keep it relatively short because I want to burn through a few more of these. And then we'll get into the film breakdown with Joe. Matt, what do you think about the offensive line?
Yeah, I think they need a lot of help at the guard position. If Thuney breaks free, yeah, break the bank for him. I'm all about that. I definitely could see them going guard with that second first rounder. Like, I don't know if Wyatt Davis is going to be able to be there. He might go a little bit earlier than that, but I would love if they were able to get him with the Seattle pick. I think that would be great. Fant, I think they bring back for another year. I think he's been fine. I think one of Clark or Van Roten starts at one of the guard positions. I think Alex Lewis is done after this year. I think they'll cut him and move on and save the money there. And
Did you hear what the issue was with Alex Lewis?
I don't know if I buy what was that rumor was, but yeah, I did see it. Yeah.
So the rumor was, for those guys that didn't see it, he said something along the lines of, "I should have followed Jamal." And that's like apparently got under Gase's skin and he benched him. Now, I don't know if that's true or not because they said it wasn't like a disciplinary kind of thing. But when it's, I don't know, when it's not an injury and you're getting benched, it doesn't look too good. I apologize if I cut you off, Matt.
No, I was just saying to wrap up my thoughts on the line. McGovern's been disappointing this year, but he's someone that I want to see outside of a Gase system. He looked like a top 10 or top 15-ish center last year. Hasn't looked that great, or at least has been inconsistent this year. But I think he's someone who could bounce back next year.
Joe, what do you think about the offensive line?
Yeah, I think it's the guard spots that need to be replaced. I'm hopeful for Cam Clark. I'm not sure why he hasn't played. I don't know why Elflein played over him this week, so I definitely want to see him. But obviously, with him not playing, and if he doesn't play for the rest of the year, then you're going to assume you have to address both guard spots. Becton obviously is not being replaced. Fant's been about average, which is not bad for a tackle who's making $9.3 or $9.4 million, whatever you said. So I think it's really the two interior spots. I think especially with Joe Douglas, he wants to spend big in free agency on the guard spot because he wants to address the offensive line. You're not going to get, obviously a tackle. You're not going to get Penny Sewell with the first pick. It's going to be Lawrence. You're not going to be able to, who knows who's going to be there with the 25th pick or whatever you're going to have with Seattle's pick. So I think he's going to splurge a little bit. There's a lot of interest in a guy like Thuney last year that was reported. So I think it's going to be Thuney or Sheriff who's going to come in here, which would be fantastic. And I think in the draft, second, third round, whatever it may be, you get that other guard spot and you let them compete with a Cam Clark for that right guard, left guard spot. And even if it's a center, again, like you said, you can move that center to guard or you can move McGovern to guard because McGovern has played guard. And McGovern's problems, I think it's kind of there's a lot of issues with it. One, continuity hurts, especially centers, because you have guys to the left and to the right of you, and you have to make all the calls, so that does not help at all. And then the problem with the line a lot this year, too, has been some of the inconsistencies in terms of injuries. And you have guys like Josh Andrews playing a lot. When you have guys like McDermott playing a lot, it's not helping the other guys. So I think when they're all healthy, it's a below average unit, but it's a big upgrade from last year. So guys like Greg Van Roten in the last couple of weeks have been playing pretty damn well. Alex Lewis is definitely a huge problem. Josh Andrews, when he comes in, McDermott, I'm not really sure why he was signed, but I think they addressed the interior of the offensive line next year. Obviously, if a tackle falls, they're going to take them, but that's where the main weakness is right now. So I'm expecting a huge push after a Sheriff or a Thuney, but the problem with Thuney is the Patriots have a lot of caps, so we'll see if he even makes it to free agency.
Yeah, that's the thing with Thuney. I really like him, especially because you brought up the whole health of the line and just having consistency playing together. Thuney hasn't missed a game, and I think he's got 2 penalties in the last 2 years. So the guy, he's healthy and he's playing smart and he plays a bunch of different positions. He is so valuable. I know Patriot fans want him back. I'm hoping they're going to have to spend big on a quarterback, but I don't see that necessarily happening. Yeah, guy can wish. Greenbean, what do you think about the offensive line?
Yeah, I think, first of all, the Patriot fans can go to hell. I hope they start losing everybody they love. That's what I want for them. Only in the football world, you know what I mean? I don't want to see lose their kids or anything.
Oh, I hope they're zipping up their jeans and they nick the little twig and berries down there, and then you have to worry about the unzip is the worst part.
That's right. Undoing that one is worse than the job itself. So I think Joe Douglas did a good job addressing the line. I mean, last year, we said if we could have somewhere in the middle of the road line, there would be a vast improvement. And that's what he did. He used his first draft pick ever on a left tackle. He used another draft pick on Cam Clark. He brought in, I think it was 7 total linemen. Like Joe just said, Van Roten it took him a minute, but he's looking solid. Doesn't mean it can't be upgraded. Like I said before, I think he'd be a great, you want to have these legitimate battles. Like you sign this guy and he's just penciled in as your starter. It's like, well, is there any competition on this team? So I think that we're going to use some of the free agent money on more linemen. And I also think the 3rd round is a sweet spot. It always is, really, for very, very good offensive linemen. But this year in particular, there's some guys that are really good, man, at the center and guard spot. And I think whoever slides, the great news is like we mentioned, McGovern has played both positions, and he's having his worst year, in his career right now. And I think it's the situation. I can't think about it any other way. It seems obvious to me. And so I think whoever slides, whatever top guy, if it's a center or a guard, you just grab them, and then you have the option of McGovern sliding over. But I think the offensive line is better, man. Like I said last week, that first and second quarter, Sam Darnold had clean pockets. Not every single play, but there was so much time that he had. It was like he'd never seen before. There was a couple, I forget where I saw, it might have been Jet Nation, but there were a few clips, like screenshots or something, of the pocket fully formed and Sam Darnold running. So he was bailing early on the pocket. He doesn't do that step up into the pocket thing very well these days, because I do believe he's shell shocked. He's just damaged. He's waiting to get killed, and he's going to get the hell out of there. So I think they're doing a decent job. I think it's a serviceable offensive line. It's a really good place to stand to upgrade. And I think Joe Douglas is going to do just that. It's going to be a great year, man.
Chris Bucco says, I don't want Peterson. Eagles might fire him. We'll go a quick yes-no answer for Doug Peterson from the Philadelphia Eagles. You guys can either say it or you can just shake your head.
Absolutely not.
All right, we'll move on to the next question. Sam Roach says, why not Bieniemy? We've talked about him before. I wouldn't be upset with Bieniemy. The part that I'm concerned about is he's been the hot name for the last 2 off seasons, and he hasn't gotten the job. And then people are going to look at the Andy Reid calling the plays, and when Patrick Mahomes comes off the field, he's talking to Mike Kafka. He's not talking to Bieniemy. So is Bieniemy, now take this with a grain of salt, is Bieniemy like the Dowell Loggins to Adam Gase, where I don't know, is he riding the coattails of a fantastic quarterback the same way that Gase rode the coattails of Peyton Manning? So that's my kind of thoughts. Real quick thoughts, Matt, Joe, Green Bean, I'll go to you first. Real quick thoughts on Bieniemy.
Well, I know what everybody else is going to say, and I agree with what you just said. And I want to say this, as everybody pretty much knows by now, I'm in recovery. I was an illegal. I lived as a homeless man, all that shit. So I do believe that people can be reclaimed, redeemed. But if you look into Eric Bieniemy's past, it's sordid. There's a lot of stuff. A lot of people that are calling his name don't know shit about him. And if you look at his past, what I fear is when that guy comes over here and he starts losing all these storylines, dude, it's the kind of stuff that the New York press eat alive. And I see the Jets being a huge distraction or this relationship being a huge distraction for his success. I don't think he's right for this, and that's on top of what you said, Ryan. I don't know what Eric Bieniemy does. I really don't. Nobody can seem to tell me with any clarity. So that's my thoughts on the question.
Yeah, you were referring to his time at Colorado. We'll eventually kind of go into that. I'm sure I'll make a video at some point on it. But Joe, what do you think about Bieniemy?
It intriguing. I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be ecstatic with some other guys. Again, I don't know exactly what he does. I know he's called some plays, but again, it's a little bit different when you have Mahomes, when you have McCall Harbin, when you have Hill, when you have Tyreek Hill. So, and yeah, he might have called plays, but who's running the practices, the film rooms, all that stuff. So there's a lot of question marks with him. Intriguing, but not sold, to make it really short.
Matt, what do you think about Bieniemy?
Yeah, I too am intrigued. I think he does some behind the scenes stuff a little bit more than in terms of like coming up with game plans and stuff like that. Reed talks him up a ton. Andy Reid's someone that I trust a lot, and the coaching tree is really good. He's not the perfect candidate. I don't think he's as good as what some people are making him out to be. I'm also not as low on him as maybe you or Green Bean, who I don't know. He might be frozen, but
Green Bean's frozen with the can. Now he's back.
Chugging.
Okay. but I'd be intrigued with Bieniemy for sure.
All right, Max, our buddy Max NY Jets says Jets should not hire Matt Patricia as their next head coach since his defensive rankings in Detroit are bottom 5 in the league. The Jets should not hire Matt Patricia because he's terrible.
Green.
Yeah. No, I'm not even going to.
So
we're not going to go. Yeah, we are not going around this panel and talking about Patrick or Matt Patricia.
No.
So I think we're all good with that. Jordan Ivey says the Broncos with no quarterback scored as many points as a healthy Jets quarterback. No way Gase comes back. Yeah, we spoke about that briefly earlier. It's just embarrassing. You can't have that. We left I shouldn't say a lot of points on the field, but we left, at least 9 given the turnover on downs, the missed field goal. So right there you got, you would have 12 points. And in a 12-20 game, that game looks totally different at that point. What else we got over here? V-Man says, what most people outside of Jets fans don't realize that most of their problems stem from the previous regime's failures. JD has a plan, and I trust him. Yeah, 100%. The team that Joe Douglas inherited was a bad team. Even, because we brought him in after the draft, after free agency, like, it was absolutely the worst possible decision that the Johnsons could have done. The fact that they were nervous about hiring a head coach because they had never done it before, so they kept McCagnon around to assist with that process is just ass backwards. So I think most of us will probably agree. Previous regime's failures. Anything to add to those?
That's obvious again.
Elijah Pemberton says Becton equals Jonathan Ogden or Orlando Brown.
Who are the biggest tackles to play in the NFL? That's who he equals.
That's exactly it.
Yep.
It's like, okay, let's get the biggest possible human and just have them be a Hall of Famer. Yeah. It's that comparison that Joe does not like at all.
I really don't like player comparisons. Usually.
So let's get into a little bit more of the film side of things. We got our buddy Joe on here, and he knows way more about the film aspect of this. If you guys don't follow Jets X Factor and Blewett's Blitzes, he is awesome at breaking stuff down. So Joe, I'll give the floor to you. You want to go over, just kind of take us to school.
Well, I guess we're just gonna go rookies since we are at 9:20, so I don't want to take up a ton of time for the guys who do want to see I'm not doing all the rookies, by the way. I'll do Becton, Mims, and Hall, the guys who were a little bit more positive.
1 second before you shift over, because I just realized as soon as you go to this, I'm gonna wind up having it's gonna be split into all 4 categories. So give me 1 second, and I'll add another panel here.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna do all these guys. If you guys do want to go to the channel, again, the shows can be from 2 to 4 hours breaking down film with either myself, with Kyle Smith. I know Green Bean has checked out a lot of the shows with Marcus Coleman. And listen, if you don't agree with me, if you're going to question my takes, question the guy who played in the NFL for 11 years here. I break down film with all the time. So he usually agrees with me. We will disagree on some stuff, but overall, we are on the same page. I say AJ Green, who is easily a top 5 receiver in the league for a couple of years. He says Julio Jones, which I think is a little bit overhyping, but it's AJ Green. I think is fine. I think everybody would be happy with AJ Green. So am I good to go? I guess we'll start with Mims. Is that good to go? Again, I'm not gonna
I think all of us are pretty excited about it.
I'm not gonna necessarily even do the big plays, and I'm not gonna break it down as in depth as I would on my show, just because I don't want to take a ton of time. But so I just want to highlight some things that people don't really notice, I think, on broadcast. I hope you could see this. And can you see it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I talk about with Mims' route running ability, and this is kind of a good play and a bad play at the same time with Mims, and that's why I'm really excited about him. And it's something I saw with him at Baylor. And right here is a reduced split to the top of the screen. If you can see my mouse, my Krauser, it's going over cursor. I don't know if it is cursor, mouse. I can never do that. I always suck with that. Whatever it is, I always call my mouse because I don't know how to pronounce that word. So I'm going to play this in full speed. And the first thing I want you to notice here, again, I don't want to go too far in depth into some of this stuff, but the one thing I want you to notice is how quickly he gets out of his break. And then I'm going to break down the break. So if you do notice how quickly he gets out of this, I again, noting that he's 6'3", but about what, 215 ish. Right.
Mm-hmm.
The really big positives. One of this is the drive phase, which is the drive phase is him coming to his stem, which is his break. Sells it really, really well. If you're looking at his body right here, he's selling deep, shoulders over his toes. He looks like he's going deep, which keeps his safety off. And the positive thing about his break is how quickly he gets out of it. But these are some things that he's going to fix coming into the next couple of years, where the break is not actually very good technically, but he still gets out of it really, really well. If you look at this stride right here, he's overstriding into his break. You'd never want to see him kind of lunging into a break because he's throwing his body forward. You want to throw your body down into breaks, not forward, because obviously trying to stop when you're throwing your body over your knees is not a good thing. So he can fix that. You want to see a little bit more forceful into the ground, not leaping into the break. Another thing with his break is you never want to see people look like they're a chair. Like you could almost like take his body away. It looks like he's a chair. You want to really be shoulders over your knees. You want to be more condensed. So he's sitting it down. He's not committing fully to his break. So this is the first step's the stop step. He's lunging into it. And then you see how he's leaning out of his break before he breaks. You want to commit fully to your break and have your shoulders over your knees again before you really start to whip out of it. So he's not committing fully and he's leaning back. 1, 2, 3, 4, and gets out of it. So the fact that, and again, I usually go into a little bit more detail, but the fact that he's getting out of that so quickly with bad technique, with lunging into it, with sitting back, with not fully committing, his eyes are out of his break too before his body's, which is not a good thing. So again, a couple of negatives there from the actual route running aspect, but at the same time, really big positives that I'm seeing from Mims that, again, people don't really I don't think note down. Like people are like, oh my God, yeah, good break, but he didn't commit fully to his stop step. Like this is the stuff I usually do on my channel. This is what I'm about. I'll bring up 2 more plays of him just to discuss a little bit and some of the positives that I'm seeing early into his career again. And some of the stuff you have to note down, like this, no preseason, no training camp, injuries. Like he's had no time and he's coming into these roles and he's been consistent, like 40, 50 plus yards every single week with not the best quarterbacks, with not the best coaching staff. Like I think his ceiling's really high. Let me see where he is on this play. Oh, so this is another small thing. So he's on the bottom right here, press coverage. So the one thing I do want to see him do is he definitely needs to work on his release a little bit right here. This is what I call a get even technique, where he's just bringing his back foot up. So he's not really doing a lot to threaten the corner, not really doing a lot to threaten his feet, his eyes, his hips, which I don't love here. He does just release to the outside again. He really bows it out from the bottom of the numbers all the way out to the sideline. You really want to manipulate the hips, the eyes, the feet again, and hold your stem. As I say, you don't want to bow your route out really far to the sideline because then you're reducing the space that the quarterback can throw the ball. So I don't like that part of it. Again, he needs work on that. But the really big positive of this play is when he's looking back to the ball and the ball is thrown, you could see him get in contact here, push off, and then high point the ball and attack the ball. Little things like this, like rookies don't do. Again, I'll play it in full speed, but that little the ability to track the ball and the little push off and then attacking the ball with light hands is something that is really, really impressive at the bottom of the route, or the top of the route right there, because it's just, again, something you don't see people do. It's really just good awareness of the situation and knowing he needs to create space. Again, not a ton into that one, but a really, really good play from him there. Let me pull up one more of him. I think this is from the Finns game. Let's see. Again, I don't think this is something that people really notice a ton. Oh, I'm going to screw something up with him. Hold on. Let me see just a second. Dead air. Perfect podcasting.
Nah, it's cool. No worries. You could tell when he was attacking the top of that route in the first clip you showed, the safety starts to turn his hips, and that's when he gets into his break. And that you could tell the leverage of the safety is just all thrown off.
That's why I want to say, selling that drive phase, because a lot of guys don't sell their drive phase. And even there's a lot of guys like Julio Jones. Julio Jones sells high knees a lot. Which I discuss a lot. When you're selling high knees, it really looks like you're running really fast, but he shows like he's running 100%, but he's really running 90, which allows him to get out of his breaks quicker. So he's really, really good at that, which Mims is also showing he has the ability to do. But to be able to get out of a break as fast as he did with not good technique is a really, really big plus for when he is technically sound. Because if he gets technically sound and he's already breaking that quick with bad technique, just watch out. I'm pretty damn high on this kid. And again, this is another one of those things. This is tiny. I'm not going to break down the whole thing. Obviously vertical route. Another example of him just being really smart and using his hands, obviously tracking the ball. But again, people just notice this on the, okay, you watch this play. Oh my God, really good tracking the ball. But this is the little things that I like to discuss where he's holding his stem. The slight push off right there, it's hard to see in this angle, but pushes off on that shoulder and then starts to stem a little bit more outside to track the ball. It's the little things that he's doing right now as a rookie with no camp, no preseason, that are super, super impressive. Things this small that guys don't do, where if he doesn't push off here, again, legal, maybe it's illegal, but he didn't get called for it, so it doesn't matter. This is the thing he was really good at Baylor doing. But to do that, again, as a rookie while you're tracking the ball is not as easy as it looks when I'm playing it in super slow motion. And if he doesn't do that, it's a contested catch and most likely not a catch on the sideline. So super, super high on Mims. I don't know if we want to get into more Mims topics and your guys' overall thoughts in his first 4 weeks, unless you want me to start running through some more film. So.
Well, I'll say this. I really enjoyed that. You could tell just the about a yard worth of separation that he generated from that little push, because now you're along with the push, the guy's going backwards. He's drifting backwards towards the sideline, so he's got plenty of space to make that catch. And then getting the feet down is just real impressive. What did you guys think of that little bit of a breakdown with Mims?
Yeah, I mean, I was mesmerized by how Joe broke that down. I can't even fathom breaking down film like that, but it's impressive stuff from a rookie. Like he was saying, that's my biggest takeaway from Mims so far. In his limited amount of games, he hasn't played a whole lot, but he is doing the little things that I think can get you excited about him being a good long-term starter. And I think he's probably going to be on the higher end towards where his ceiling is. I'd be surprised if he was just an okay number 2. I really think this is a guy who's going to be either a number 1 or a really, really good number 2 on most teams.
Green Bean, what were your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, like Joe said, I watch a lot of his stuff, man. I like Jet X Factor a lot. Joe's breakdowns being my favorite things. Also Blue at Blitz. But yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I mean, Mims, see, he does the things that you have a harder time coaching. He already does that. And the stuff that he doesn't do technique-wise, you can coach. Like a Stephen Hill, he didn't use his hands. You know what I mean? Like they thought they were going to teach him how to catch. Everything was a corral on. The ball always made it to his body. He would leave his feet, leave the ground, and it was like this guy can't catch. You know what I mean? Like that's not. Mims is a totally different story. So I really think he's got just boatloads of potential. And if we get some really good coaches in here that can work with him, like imagine if the coaches were doing it just like Joe just did it. I mean, what else could we ask for? It's like just do that with the fucking guy. But our coaches, I don't know if that's happening. So anyway, I love it.
All right. I'll run into the other guys really quickly too. Just to, again, talk about some of the rookies everybody's excited about. Let me see. You guys want Becton or Hall first? I guess it doesn't really matter.
Becton.
Yeah. So again,
big ticket.
And these are super small. So like I'm doing 3 plays on Mims or 4 plays on Mims right now. The show that I do is completely dedicated to the film, so I don't want to completely take over the show. Even though for these 10 minutes maybe I am a little bit. And again, I'll show some of the run plays with Becton. This is one thing. So I'm going to show this. I think it's this play and maybe the next play. is a positive that he's actually building on, which I've noticed and I've noted in my show a lot. That again, the thing with Becton for me is, and this is one of the things I think he needs to improve, probably the most. He has a tendency to make the Twitter highlights when he throws guys. The problem with throwing guys is obviously you disengage, they have a chance to then move laterally and make tackles. So I would like to see him kind of work through his hands more and like climb the tree, as I say, and really kind of grip guys. He has a tendency to throw guys a little bit, which again I want to see him work on. So some of these plays I'm going to show, and I'm going to show what I mean when I'm saying throwing guys, engaging, and obviously using some of their athletic ability to get around him. Because he's a great athlete at 370, but when you throw a DB and they're able to reset their feet at 220, they're going to be able to move side to side faster than you can. So again, the Becton stuff's it's pretty simple. Mid zone. It's actually more of an outside zone. Mid zone for me is attacking the outside hip with the track, and then the outside zone's the outside hip. Wide zone is about 2 yards outside of the tackle. I'm not going to go crazy with the different zones: inside zone, tight zone, belly zone, all the different zones you could have. But Becton really tends to throw that 0 step right here, where this foot really isn't gaining any ground vertically or horizontally. He did it at Louisville. It's not something I necessarily think he would do in the NFL. It's not something you really see a lot, but the Jets are allowing him to do it. So 0 step, again, maintains an inside-out relationship, which is fine for mid-zone, outside zone, because the running back is reading the defensive end. So if the defensive end stays outside, he goes inside. If he knifes inside, he goes outside. So that's his read. So that's the positive of zone, where gap runs, you have to attack gaps for the most part. If it's the B gap, you really need to go into the B gap because everybody else is down blocking, pulling, whatever, getting away from it. So like the patience with his feet, like the fact that he's square. You don't want to see him commit his hips fully outside, because if he was the knife across, if your hips are pointed outside, it's going to be harder for you to get inside. So I like the squareness of him, letting him define himself. If he goes outside, let him stay outside. If he knifes inside again, that's where Gore's reading. So let him knife inside. That's completely fine. So I like the fact that he's staying square, patient with his feet. Obviously lands the right hand inside. The one thing I really, really like about this play, again, versus the other plays that I will show, is that he actually keeps his hands on and runs through that extended right hand, where he has a tendency to throw guys a little bit. So moving Bosa from the left hash, how many yards is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yards. It's Joey Bosa. Like, how much money did this guy just get? And Becton, again, because of patient feet, because of patient hips, and running through his hands, just moved him 7 yards to the outside. Like, it's absolutely fantastic. Some of the things that Becton is doing in the run game. Again, some things he needs to improve on. Again, some things I'll talk about in my show a ton. Let me move on to the I screwed that one up. So we'll only have 3 plays of Becton enough. I don't know what that was, okay. But drive Ingram. So this is hold on. There's a pass set I had in here of Becton. The pass sets I'm gonna pull it up because I'll be able to find it pretty quickly because I know it's around that. This is another play. Same thing. 0 step with that left foot. Square. Obviously, this is his only threat. There's a bubble right here. There's really nothing for him to attack. He's not going to down block. He's going to work to the outside, because this is, again, let me see. This is another mid zone. Jets run a lot of mid zone, inside zone, outside zone. That's like their forte. They do run some duo. They do run some counters. Again, come to my channel. I'll explain all that stuff to you. The difference between counter, power, pin and pulls, sweeps, whatever you want. There's really not much difference here in terms of what he's doing. But the difference from the play I'm going to show in a little bit is the fact that he's maintaining the contact, which I like. I don't want to go crazy into this stuff. Hands onto the shoulder, drives him outside. There's really not much I need to get into there. We could talk about all that stuff. I like the aggression after the play, though. Obviously, you'd like to see this stuff with Becton. Let me see the other thing. Hold on, I'm gonna show one more play. For Becton. Okay, pulling it up. And here we go. I think this is the play. No, that's not the right play. I'm going to go to the bad play that I was talking about with Becton, just because I don't want to search through all this. I thought I had it queued up right. The one thing I do want to show is, remember I was talking about snapping the heads before with the guy who runs with Smaldy, or whatever his name is. This is the type of trust me, there are so many guys, I could talk to guys in private who hype up a lot of plays and stuff like that, and then you actually look at the film if you know what you're watching, and you're like, what are these guys talking about? the play that he breaks down, where he's like, oh my God, I gotta talk almost like he snaps his head back because of all the power. This is ridiculous. Look at Becton, move him to the outside. When you really see, like, it just takes simple film breakdown. This is not even like a big thing with talking about stop steps and leverages and square hips and zero steps. You could see his hand into the guy's face mask. So, like, yeah, he snaps his head back because of the face mask. That's something I just want to get out of the way. So I'm just going to caution people. A lot of these Twitter breakdown things, just watch a little bit, because all you do is pause it, freeze frame, and say, was it power, or did he literally get illegal hands to the face? So that stuff I'll point out again on stuff on my show. The one thing I did want to show with I labeled this as math block. You can see some of the things that I talk about. This is where I talk about him, where he gets some of the highlight plays. Like, some of the plays lead to highlights, but then there's other plays that people won't put up of him trying to throw guys, but then the guy, makes a tackle. Again, nothing to really break down here other than the fact that he gets in contact with 21, who probably has 150 pounds on. And because he tries to make the highlight play, come into contact and throw the guy, extending, not running through his feet, not grabbing, not quarter punching. You want to punch from your chest. And when you punch, you want to quarter turn your thumbs, which activates your scapula, your back. Again, little stuff I like to break down. He doesn't do that because he just tries to throw the guy. Throws him, doesn't maintain a contact. Again, now there's this distance. Now he has the advantage because he has a lot less weight on you. Now he makes the tackle. Instead of maybe, if you can break the arm tackle of Weiss, and maybe now he's running to the outside because you're driving him. So, like, the little things that I do want to see him improve. That's something I brought up in the Chargers game that he did improve, which I was really, really impressed with. Little stuff that I like to look at. But that's really all I'm going to do for Becton. I don't know if you guys want to comment, or I'm going to just run right into Hall.
That's impressive. I mean, just watching the hand technique change over the course of the last few weeks, and
quarter turn.
I don't want to say Joe turned me on, but the quarter turn was like activating my scapula on this side of the screen. I was
if
pretty
you were
impressed
to
with
punch
that.
like this and then punch and then turn, that's what it is. And then there's a lot of different stuff that you got to watch some coaching clinics and take notes for. There's a lot of stuff that you have to do.
You take me to school. I'll hop over to your channel. Seriously, guys, if you want to see some really good film breakdown, go to Jets X Factor. It's linked in the description down below. It's really impressive.
Right. You might see me in there. I hang out there, man. I just hang. I do.
Walking naked through the field like we were talking about before.
That's right. Pants down.
All right. I'm gonna run quickly through the Hall stuff because we only got 20 minutes. I'll know what else we have to go through. There's again not a lot to break down, but it's some really impressive stuff that we're seeing from a rookie 5th round cornerback. So obviously the look before this is cover. I gotta move my screen. It's cover 2, so he has the ability. He's the cloud corner. He's playing the outside, the hook to curl, or the curl to flat. Sorry, in this, so he has the ability to be a little bit aggressive here. Which, good job knowing having awareness to know what you're able to do. If this was cover 3, if this is cover 4, whatever it may be, he might not be able to be this aggressive. But knowing he has guys behind him is obviously aiding him in his aggression right here. But this is little stuff that you didn't see guys like Desir do. And this is his second start of his career. But the fact that he knows he could be aggressive, and obviously you see his eyes on the quarterback the entire time. He's not even reading any of this. That's not what he's doing. He's looking at the quarterback because he's playing off. He sees the quarterback, which obviously in this view, you see him take the snap he's reading. As soon as he opens his hips right here, you see him attacking. Like that. That's how quick it was. It was a split second. Reading, open. He's attacking. That's how quick that was for a rookie cornerback. Attacks, shoots, tackle. Like, that's super, super impressive for a guy as young as he is. Again, I know people like or hate the number 37. That's part of my badge number, so I actually kind of like it. But
Yeah.
Don't hate on number 37. No, let's say two more plays of him. 48 contests out. Now, this is his first start of his career. I didn't do a lot of the Miami Dolphins game yet with him, so just that's why I'm doing the Chargers game. He did play well in the Dolphins game. Again, he was getting beat on some catches, but it was contested catches against the legit number 1 wide receiver, and then he was shadowing Devontae Parker in his second start as a 5th round pick. Like, give him some leeway. Now, if you think all the stuff I do is positive, don't be mistaken, because there's some guys I will hammer too. It's just I don't really lie about what I see. The one thing that he does like to do on the bottom is shuffle technique, where he opens up instead of staying over the top and weaving, staying square to the line of scrimmage and getting in a back pedal. He does like to use a shuffle technique. I'm not a huge fan of the shuffle technique, but that's what he does like to do. So I'll have to get over it. The good thing I do like that he's doing right here is, if you are going to shuffle technique, you have to make sure you're outside leverage, because if you're not outside leverage, they're going to attack your blind spot. You're not going to be able to see the receiver, and you're pretty much going to be screwed. So I do like that he maintains outside leverage. The positives of this is, one, you're not really going to get beat, and you're able to read the quarterback while having the receiver in your peripheral visions. That's kind of the benefits of the shuffle technique. So that's what he's doing right here. The one thing I really do like about him on this play is him just noticing the break before the break actually happens, and he notices the break because of the lean. If you could see right here by Mike Williams, you could see him on, let's see, his, I don't know what step it is, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, one, you can see what I'm talking about, the drive phase. You see where shoulders are down, shoulders down, shoulders down, shoulders down. You see the shoulders coming up right here? This should be a indication for him coming into a break. You can see right there. There's the body language. So his shoulders come up, and now he starts to break. And as he starts to break and his shoulders come up, you have Bryce Hall, who reads that and is already breaking on it. Now, good job breaking to cut off, not to get behind him or overshoot it over the top. So good break to cut off the route. And then he obviously plays the ball really, really well. The positive how he plays the ball too is right here. You want to have your inside hand playing the ball, your outside hand wrapping up. It's different in some situations, but another thing that he does positive here too is when you play the ball, he does swipe out a little bit, which I do want to see improved. You want to punch through, not necessarily swipe out. I think I showed an example of that later, or maybe in a different play here. And the reason for that, just to touch on that, because I did mention I hate not kind of dotting my I's and crossing my T's. When you swipe at a ball, your body has a tendency to go towards the ground. So if you do miss on that ball, your one arm is only on the guy, and you have a tendency to miss tackles like that. When you punch through, your body's already going through. So if you miss the ball, you have a tendency to wrap up the guy. So you don't really want to swipe at balls. And when you punch through guys' arms, you have a longer window of playing that ball. Obviously, when you swipe, think about it. If the ball is coming, if you swipe, you only have that split second that you're swiping at the ball. Or if you punch through, it's a longer time to play that ball. Kind of a shitty explanation there, but it's easier to show with film when I do have that, and I obviously have that on my show. One more play, and then we can wrap up again. I know I'm taking some time here, but
I just want to say that made perfect sense to me. The hand being more in position to actually stop that pass from coming in.
The swiping takes you into the ground, and also doesn't allow you to play the ball for as long. And also when you punch through, guys have a tendency, even if they miss the ball. Now, if you're catching the ball here, Ryan, and you're out like this, now if I punch through it, now my hand is between you and the ball, so guys tend to pull the ball into themselves. So now you have that buffer, which is my hand. So that's why you see a lot of good receivers catch the ball and then turn away with the ball, because guys punch through the arms. Even if you miss, if you punch through instead of swiping, now you can't pull the ball into your body, which if you do, now again, you're pulling the ball right into my arm, which chops it out kind of. So that's another thing. There's a lot of little technical stuff in football that people don't know about. Bottom, let's see what this one is. So this is a good example of him just staying square. A lot of Jets cornerbacks in the past just open up immediately, and that's why you see so many Jets guys get beat, hitches, curls, all that stuff, because you want to stay square, you want to shuffle, you want to obviously want to press. If you're pressing a guy, press him. If you're going to be off, take read steps. Read steps are your first 2-3 steps. You creep backwards, you read the quarterback's drop. If the quarterback takes a 1-step drop, you're expecting a quick pass. If it's a 3-step drop, you might expect a medium pass. If it's a 5 to 7, you're expecting longer. So that's going to affect how you play the receiver at that point. So if you are going to press, you really want to get hands on, because that's the benefit of press. If you're not going to press and press, then play off. A lot of Jets receivers don't press and press, which drives me crazy. So, and they have a tendency to not stay square. They open their gate, which allows guys to have free releases on them, which again defeats the purpose of what you're doing. So, obviously he has, I'm not going to get into everything, but good stance right here. Shoulders over knees, which is good. Square. He opens his gate a little bit, so he's giving the outside a little bit, but he does stay relatively square. Again, this is Keenan Allen, who is one of the best route runners in the NFL. So the fact that he's able to stay square, has patient enough hips to get a shuffle in, to get his hands on. Again, he does angle off a little bit more than I want to here, but he is able to get a shuffle in. He is able to get hands on, gets hands on, matches the stem, and then I can't really tell with this angle, but it does look like he uses a slingshot, which a slingshot's that right arm or any arm really. If they're going to break, you're going to literally use that arm to pull you towards him, which is it's a slingshot technique. So good job getting his arm on him, because obviously, Ryan, if I'm running after you and you break, if I don't have a hand on you, I'm not going to be able to match your break as quickly if I had a hand on you, because I'm literally pulling you into me. So that's kind of like what a slingshot technique is, to be really simplistic. But you have Keenan Allen, who with his left hand right here tries to do a push by technique, which is literally it's as simple as it sounds, pushing you by. He uses a slingshot to combat that. One of those that he wants to do that in general, but he does it, which is a really positive thing. And then again, stays right on him and plays that ball. He does swipe at it a little bit with that right arm right there. It's harder to see because we're up high, but again, just overall, really good job staying square, good stance, getting a shuffle in, matching him, getting hands on. You want to match, or you want to kind of press the stem. You don't want to give free releases, obviously. So him pressing that stem obviously is going to widen him out. Give the quarterback kind of a smaller window to throw that ball. Slingshot technique, plays the ball. That's kind of the quick gist of what I do, and that's kind of the breakdown of the rookies in a condensed segment.
That was legit. I very much enjoyed that. I have no idea what happened to our names, but all our names got jumbled again. I'm like, I got Green Bean is Matt, Matt is Green Bean, and
I prefer
that was a legit, guys. Seriously, you gotta check out Joe over at Jets X Factor. One last thing before we call it a night. Nim Lassiter, thank you for the super chat. He says, how would each of you handle free agency and the first round? We'll say, I guess, both first round picks, and we'll just say maybe like a position that we'd attack to keep it a little simple. So free agency, I want to build this offense, but I want an edge rusher as well. So I want to prioritize whoever JD thinks is the legitimate edge rusher that you can come away with. So whether that's Bud Dupree or Matthew Judon, or I don't think Shaq Barrett shakes free, but one of those guys. I think an edge is super important. A wide receiver is a must for me. I'd like to maybe avoid wide receiver with that second first round pick if possible. I originally had us not bringing back Perriman. Now I would like to bring back Perriman. So for me, if you can address guard, wide receiver, and edge, that would be the biggest thing. If Thuney doesn't shake free, if Sheriff doesn't shake free, then it's going to be receiver and edge for me. And first round pick, obviously Trevor Lawrence, and then the second one is going to be, if we go edge rusher and we go receiver, I would look for guard at that pick or cornerback. It depends where the value is, but we're gonna need a little bit of help in both of those. Matt, what would you do? How would you handle free agency and our first round picks?
Yeah, to me, there are definitely a ton of positions of need, but I would prioritize bringing in one of those big name receivers that you mentioned before. I love Allen Robinson. To me, I think I would feel comfortable paying him that $19 to $20 million a year to get him to come here. He's that good in my eyes, and giving Trevor Lawrence that would be phenomenal. I also desperately want an edge rusher as well. So I would look at, Dupree's a name, obviously that's going to come up a lot. Judon's going to come up. You have to take some sort of a swing, even if it's not one of those big name guys. You got to bring in some sort of edge there. It depends on if you bring back Brian Poole, but that could potentially be a need as well, slot corner. But I think in the draft, obviously the first pick, you're going Lawrence. And then after that, I'd probably say either interior offensive line or corner would be the next pick for me.
Green Bean, what about you?
Yeah, I think in free agency, I mean, I'm going to sound like a broken record here with, with everything that Matt just said, but I think wide receiver is a big one. Well, the exciting thing about this free agency class is that guys are going to appear on there that, for all intents and purposes, shouldn't be there, because of the cap being lowered for the first time. And I don't know if ever happened before, but it's being lowered. So a lot of these teams are going to have to make very difficult decisions, and guys are going to pop loose. And I think we're going to be there waiting for this, which is just another great thing that Joe Douglas has done, guys. I think you can't undervalue that. And I think guys like Allen Robinson is one of my favorites. I might like Godwin a bit more if they do, in fact, let him shake loose. His versatility is a little bit more it's cool, it's like it's exciting to have
too.
a guy. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, but I really do like Allen Robinson too. But I think, having Mims, having Godwin, and then, just let's just say, Devontae Parker, Devontae Smith, somebody like that really excites me. But I think O-line, just continue with the O-line, continue with wide receiver and edge, man. And, I think we're going to do okay. I like our young cornerbacks. I still think we should bring them in, but I think we just saw with Hall, this kid knows how to play. I've been watching him for a little while now. I just really like his potential. And I think he's a good guy to have. And I'm so glad he's getting reps in a garbage season. I'm just so happy about it. But yeah, I think that's what we're probably going to do. The draft is just like, if it's Trevor Lawrence, it's Trevor Lawrence, but I think we're going to get a running back a little earlier than a lot of people think. And I think we might want to do that. Like if Najee Harris is there at 33, I pull the trigger, me personally. So anyway, I think that's what it is.
Joe, what about you? How would you handle free agency, and what would your first round picks look like?
Yeah. Again, this is all like hypothetical. I generally like to kind of address things that are weak in the draft and free agency. So weak receiver draft, address wide receivers. But this year I want to be a little bit more biased to the offense to give yourself flexibility, because the Jets need offense. Like, I know we're talking about them having, a solid 3 receivers if healthy, but in general, I want the Jets to really surround their quarterback to let him thrive. Hopefully it being Lawrence, if not, Lawrence and Fields. It's going to be one of them. One of those guys is quarterback in the Jets next year. Like, let's just be honest. So, I would really, really look hard to Atuni or Sheriff, whichever one of those guys, and then maybe in the second, third round again, you let one of those guys compete with Clark / McGovern. For one of those starting spots. I think McGovern's gonna be a starter regardless, but really competing with Clark. So I want to see one of those guards, and I want to see a receiver, whether that be Robinson or Godwin or Juju. Juju, I'm not as high on as some other people. Again, when you're limited to the slot, when you already have a slot guy, I'm not loving that. But overall, I would say Godwin's my number 1. Just because of the age. I think if they were the same age, I think Allen Robinson's a better receiver. I think he's really been limited by his quarterbacks. He is a elite receiver. He really is. He just doesn't have anybody. The guy went from Christian Hackenberg to Blake Bortles to Mitch Trubisky. Like, he is really, really
to
good.
Nick Foles.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I would love him, but at the same time, because Godwin is an upper tier guy and he's 24, so you can have him for the next 5-6 years with Lawrence. That's why I would want him more. So those, guard receivers, what I really want. And then obviously, if you address any of the other premium positions, edge, corner, those are things I really want. I usually don't consider receiver premium, but I think in this offseason, because of the young quarterback coming in, it is premium just for this one season. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. And then with the second pick, who's going to be there? That's a loaded question. Take the best guy to premium positions, what I'll say.
So you're thinking corner, edge rusher, just any one of those.
Maybe
really.
again, and this year too, like, it's going to be, again, receiver is kind of premium because of a young quarterback coming in. So if it's a receiver, whoever you like, throw whatever name you like out there right now in December, take that guy. And I know a lot of people will argue like ETN, take him and Lawrence. That's the sexy thing. I like the premium positions. ETN sounds nice. It's a fun thing to do, but running back is easily the least valuable position in the NFL to me.
Yeah, for running back, I don't necessarily want it in the first pick. I think 33 is the first time I would think about addressing it. I think getting that 5th-year option for a premium position is so much more valuable than getting a fifth year option on a running back that's going to be really expensive. Like, I don't think the value's there the same way. I think Kenny Gainwell from Memphis is someone that I would look at either 33 or our first pick in the third round. I don't know where he winds up falling. It's going to be fascinating to watch these different draft sites come up with big boards based on very limited play from a lot of the big name guys. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'll leave that. Broadway John, we'll throw one more question around. We could go just a touch over 10 because we started a little bit late, but he says, okay, Jets fans. I know, right? It's
Whoa,
man. He goes, okay, Jet fans, what are we doing if the Jets win a game and end up with the second pick? So I think we've pretty much, talked about it, but I'll throw a wrench into it. But I'll let you, Joe, speak first, and then we'll go around.
You're taking a quarterback. You have Fields, who in any other draft or in most other drafts would be a top guy that everybody's saying. So whether it be him or Zach Wilson or whoever ends up being the number 2 guy, you're taking a quarterback. Well, at this point, with Darnold where he is, you're not going to go into next year with him. And a lot of people say, oh well, just draft a Penny Sewell and draft a quarterback next year. $95 million, a ton of cap space, and if you have faith in Douglas, regardless if it's Flacco or Josh McCown comes back or Darnold, we're going to have more wins next year, and it's going to be less likely that you get a top quarterback. So get the top quarterback now while you can. So it's going to be Fields for number 2.
Green Bean, what do you think?
If we're at the number 2 pick, I send out tons of positive press for Fields. I trade that fucking pick and I take Kyle. I trade it and I still take a quarterback. I go back to 10, whatever it is, and I take Kyle Trask. That's what I do.
Ooh,
I like him better.
Interesting. Matt, what would you do if you had the second overall pick?
Yeah, I think you got to take a quarterback. It's Fields. I like Zach Wilson. I don't know if I would say that I like him better than Fields, but I think I like him a little bit more than most. But you have to take the quarterback there. It's not a thing with Darnold here anymore.
Yeah, so for me, I guess I'll go a different route. I would say the quarterback would be the option for me. I want to feel a little bit more comfortable with Fields, and it's probably me just not watching enough tape on the guy. But when you look at how Trevor Lawrence was ranked coming out of high school, Justin Fields was right there. I mean, I think Trevor Lawrence overall was like the 3rd highest rated prospect ever, and I think Fields was like 8th. So the guys from a very early age were very close. And then his time through college, the guy's been playing well. I would say if the Jets had the second pick and I were to not take a quarterback, I would do what Green Bean is saying, and I would hype him up as much as possible. I would get as much as I could for that pick. And since the Jets have a lot of money, it depends who you're able to rope in and whatnot. But I think looking at whether it is a rookie quarterback by trading down to 5, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there, if you feel comfortable with any one of the 4, I like Trey Lance. I think the sample size isn't quite there, but something that may eventually come up. I don't think Dak leaves Dallas, but it would be interesting. What would you guys think about going with Dak? If you think he's healthy, you'd have to pay him probably $40 million a year. Now the Jets don't have anyone on a big contract aside from C.J. Mosley, so you have the option there. You're going to have a ton of draft picks along with the extra picks you would get from trading down from 2. Or do you keep 2 and draft someone like Sewell at 2 if you're bringing in Dak? I don't know necessarily the option, but what would you guys think of Dak as an answer at quarterback if that were the case? Matt, I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to pay Dak the $40 million when I have the opportunity to take Justin Fields or Zach Wilson if you really want. But I can't justify giving up let's say it's a second pick and taking give the opportunity to take a prospect that a lot of people really, really like, and that would be a number 1 prospect in other years that doesn't have a Trevor Lawrence. I couldn't do that.
Green Bean, what about you? What do you think about the idea of possibly trading out and bringing in someone like a Dak Prescott?
No, I'm staunchly against it, especially because the injury. Yeah, I mean, that's a big piece to this thing is that money chunk, the Cowboys offered him $35 million or whatever it was, and he said no. Like, dude, I don't know. Take that somewhere else. Take that shit to Detroit.
Oh, which oddly enough, Matt Stafford may be on the trade block. I don't know if you guys saw that, but they asked him what they thought about him, I think after this season, and he said, I'll deal with that later on or something along that. I do not want Matthew Stafford, but interesting nonetheless. Joe, what do you think about Dak Prescott or moving out of the second pick?
No, it all depends on, like, obviously how much the new coach or whoever really likes Fields. Like, maybe they hate Fields and they love Dak, so maybe they do that. But I severely doubt it. You're avoiding the entire rookie contract, paying a guy $45 million who's coming off of a massive injury. So my answer is no.
A resounding no. Yeah, no. I think Fields is going to be the pick at 2 if we get it. The nice thing is there's only like a 1% chance that we don't get a top 2 pick. I want to say it was like 68% first overall, 28% second overall, and then you'd have to win 3 games to fall behind the Bengals. So as long as I'm comfortable with one of those 2 quarterbacks, I could sleep easy. I really want Trevor Lawrence. So I'm hoping the Jaguars pull off a victory, whether it's over the Vikings or what did they got? The Bears left, the Colts at the very end of the season. I want to be able to root for a win at some point this season. It's been since week 1 that we haven't rooted for a win, and nothing would make me happier than trying to throw a wrench in Seattle's. I would just love to do something with Jamal. Like, I wish Le'Veon Bell was still here so he could, like, stiff arm Jamal into the ground, or just, I want him to be slightly embarrassed, or maybe Mims just crosses him up and like catches a ball over him. Yeah, we don't even have to win. I just need one play that I could point to and be like, see, he's not as good. Like the Diggs play.
I want Jamal to come around on a hot blitz and run into Becton and fall flat on his back. That's what I want. And then Becton to step on his chest, running past him to block his block the reserves.
Absolutely amazing. Well, I'm gonna leave it at that, and we'll do our around the horn here. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to these guys, all their links are in the description down below. So let's go around the panel. Joe, thank you so much for coming on and doing that film breakdown. Any last words? Tell us where we can find you.
Blitz on, well, that's the Twitter. You just type in Jets X Factor, you'll find all my stuff. Joe RB31 on Twitter. Again, it's a lot of the film stuff. Don't really do a ton of this stuff, but I do like to jump on with you guys every once in a while and get some of the storyline type stuff out, because it is fun, because I like to discuss it. So definitely go follow me if you want to learn some more, or even if you do know about some of the film stuff, just maybe you don't have the time to break it down. So come check out the channel.
Green Bean, any last words for the panel?
Yeah, man, go check out Joe, the whole channel, Jet X Factor. They got a great podcast. Sabo's breakdowns are equally interesting. It's a great place. I've entered the Twitter sphere. I made a little thing a while ago, but I'm actually engaged. So Being the Jets fan, Instagram, Green Being the Jets fan, come hang out. I'm lots of fun. All night.
Matt, any last words for the panel?
Yeah, new episode of Just Jets drops tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. And you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in with us. This was a lot of fun. We will be back here next week, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. If you want to get in on the question of the day, which rookie has been the most impressive, it's linked at the top of the live chat there. Just click on that and cast your vote. Get a chance to enter and get some Amazon gift cards. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. My name's Ryan. I've been your pilot, and this is Jets Talk signing off. JETS.